In a land where magic wove through the air like the wind, there lived a powerful sorceress named Seraphina. She was known across the kingdoms for her mastery of spells and enchantments, but despite all her magical knowledge, there was one thing Seraphina desired above all else: a love that would last forever. Her heart belonged to a man named Kale, a warrior whose strength and valor were unmatched. They had met by chance, their bond growing quickly into a deep, passionate love. But as time passed, Seraphina became consumed with fear that her love would fade, that Kale's heart might one day belong to another. In her quest to preserve their love, Seraphina sought out an ancient and dangerous legend, the heart of the dragon. It was said that the heart of a dragon held immense power, capable of granting eternal life and undying love to whoever possessed it. But it was also known to be dangerous, for dragons were creatures of pure fire and fury, and their hearts were wild, untamable things. Determined to keep Kale's love for her alive forever, Seraphina set out on a perilous journey to capture the heart of the most feared dragon in all the realms, a beast known as Thalios. For years, Thalios had terrorized the lands, his massive wings casting shadows over villages, his fiery breath turning fields to ash. Many had tried to slay him, but none had returned. Seraphina, however, was not like other mortals. Armed with her magic and driven by her desperate desire, she ventured into the dragon's lair, a cavern deep within the mountains where the air was thick with smoke and the walls trembled with the sound of Thalios' breathing. Using her most powerful spells, Seraphina fought the mighty dragon. The battle was fierce, but in the end, she managed to subdue Thalios, binding him with chains of enchanted iron. With a final incantation, she tore the dragon's heart from his chest, trapping its glowing, pulsating power within a crystal vial. As the dragon's lifeblood flowed from him, he let out a roar that shook the earth, cursing Seraphina with his dying breath. "You think you have won, sorceress," Thalios growled, his voice like thunder. "But the heart of a dragon cannot be controlled. It will bring only ruin to you and all you hold dear." Ignoring the dragon's warning, Seraphina returned to her tower with the heart, eager to present her gift to Kael. She believed the heart would ensure that his love for her would never waver, that their bond would be eternal. When Kael returned from battle, weary and covered in the dust of war, Seraphina welcomed him with open arms. She told him of her journey, of the heart she had captured, and of the love that would now bind them forever. Without hesitation, she placed the dragon's heart in Kael's hands, casting a spell that would fuse the heart's power with his own. For a moment, Kael's eyes glowed with the fire of the dragon, his body filled with strength and vitality beyond that of any mortal man. Seraphina watched with joy, believing she had succeeded in her quest. But her joy was short-lived. As the magic took hold, something within Kael began to change. His once kind eyes turned cold and distant, the love he had for Seraphina fading into something dark and twisted. His body began to transform. His skin hardened, taking on the scales of a beast, and his hands grew into claws. His mind, once filled with devotion, was consumed by the dragon's fury and rage. Seraphina watched in horror as Kael, the man she had loved with all her heart, was turned into a monstrous creature. The dragon's heart, rather than binding him to her, had corrupted him, filling him with uncontrollable power. He no longer recognized Seraphina. His mind was lost to the beast within him, and the love they had once shared was obliterated. Desperate to bring him back, Seraphina tried every spell she knew, but nothing could reverse the curse. The dragon's heart had taken over completely, and Kael, now a mindless monster, began to lash out, destroying everything in his path. He shattered the walls of her tower, his claws ripping through stone, his roar echoing through the night. In his madness, Kael turned on Seraphina, seeing her not as the woman he once loved, but as a threat, an enemy. Heartbroken and terrified, Seraphina realized there was only one way to stop him. She had no choice but to do the unthinkable. With tears streaming down her face, she summoned the last of her strength and cast a final spell, a spell of death. Her hands trembled as she unleashed the magic, her heart shattering as she watched the man she loved fall before her. Kale collapsed to the ground, his monstrous form slowly reverting back to that of the man he had once been. But it was too late. The damage had been done. The dragon's heart, with all its power and fury, had destroyed them both. Seraphina knelt beside his lifeless body, her grief overwhelming her. She had sought to preserve their love, but in her desperation, she had only ensured its destruction. As she held Kael's cold hand in hers, Seraphina finally understood the dragon's curse. The heart of the dragon was not a gift of love, but a weapon of chaos. In trying to control it, she had lost everything: her lover, her happiness, and her very soul. The heart of the dragon continued to pulse in its crystal vial, glowing faintly with the remnants of its terrible power. But Seraphina no longer had any desire for it. She left it there, beside Kael's body, a symbol of her hubris and the price she had paid for trying to control forces beyond her understanding. In the end, Seraphina disappeared into the night, her magic fading with her grief. The tower, once filled with light and life, crumbled into ruins, and the story of the sorceress and her doomed love became a cautionary tale told by travelers and bards. The heart of the dragon, with its deadly power, was lost to the ages, but its curse remained, a warning that some forces should never be tampered with, and that love, in all its beauty and fragility, cannot be bound by magic.